That may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
Okay, my dudes, this video has to come out. We have to go through, look at the injury situations across the entire NFL because rankings are changing. I mean, if you're over there on Patreon, if you have our draft guide, I am sure that you've been following what we've been doing with our little Google sheet and just playing around with it all day. And we had a massive rankings update that I want to go through, and I want to really talk about everything that kind of changed in our rankings and why it actually happened in terms of the injuries. Now, we're going to have more update videos coming tomorrow and the next day where I go through, I talk about the winners from training camp. I talk about the losers from training camp. So make sure that you're subscribed to the channel. And because we live stream every single night with fantasy football drafts, that you can come in. If you think I'm an idiot, I would love for you to come in, hop in a $100 draft with me. Let's see who's the idiot. Come take it to the streets. I would love to play you in a fantasy league. If you're a fan of the channel, I would love to play you in the live stream as well. So make sure you're hitting the bell next to the subscribe button. That way you know when we go live. That way you can come out, you can get in those drafts with us, and you can participate in the live stream. Now, I will say, guys, all of those drafts are going to be on my favorite fantasy football platform, especially for 2021. They're going to be on Underdog Fantasy. And what's fantastic with Underdog Fantasy is if you use promo code FLOCK when you sign up to either go play with me, maybe go play with some of your own friends, maybe go play against some random people you have never met. But if you use promo code FLOCK, you deposit $10, they are paying you $25 to make that deposit. On top of this, you're getting our 2021 Fantasy Football Draft Guide. You're getting our 2021 Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide, hundreds and hundreds of pages of information for free. And to go along with all of this, if we hit 10,000 signups with promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy, Underdog said they would sponsor an event where we can fly people out to Tampa, Florida, get tickets to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers game, get a mascot costume of our logo, wear that to the game, have a Florida Flock meetup after, vlog the entire thing. So if you want to come to Tampa, if you want to go to a Bucs game with me, if you want to go to a Flock Florida meetup, make sure you go and support the channel because nothing supports this channel more. And let's dive into the news, and let's start it off with Justin Jefferson. And here with Justin Jefferson, okay, it was a slight panic because the injury actually occurred right before we went live one night. And I was sitting there going, okay, well, this is going to be interesting with what we were doing in this stream because we didn't have the news break on what actually happened in terms of the testing results until about halfway through the live stream. But we've gotten more clarity on it since then, so I really want to talk about it. So essentially, Justin Jefferson right now, he had that AC joint sprain. And it was scary at first because you just saw him hit the ground. You saw him and you didn't necessarily know how long he was going to be down there. Very similar to Chase Claypool in the Hall of Fame game. But right now, I mean, Jefferson still at practice. He's just doing like half speed reps. And on top of this, he actually said that if the season was today and he had a game this week, he could go through and he could play the game. So Justin Jefferson, he's literally day to day. Do not be thinking that you need to move him down your rankings whatsoever. I actually have Justin Jefferson currently ranked as our 23rd player overall. If you go and you look at our 2021 rankings, our 2021 tiers, our 2021 draft guide, and you actually see that we have him directly behind DK Metcalf and AJ Brown. We have him directly ahead of Darren Waller and Keenan Allen. So if you're starting your draft off with a Dalvin Cook with the second pick, I'm completely fine with you then turning around and then taking a player like Justin Jefferson in the late second, because obviously this is a wide receiver that came out his rookie year. Let me remind everyone, guys, last year we had a very limited training camp. Last year there was no preseason. Last year there were no rookie OTAs. And with all of that going on, and with the limited preparation that Justin Jefferson, who is new to the NFL, had, he came out and he was one of the most impressive rookies of all time. If you combine his volume with the efficiency that he had, I mean, Jefferson was ridiculous. So do not worry about the injury whatsoever with Justin Jefferson. I just want to put this disclaimer out here. We got a message in the live stream the other night when someone drafted Justin Jefferson at the 301 saying, how can you draft Justin Jefferson with his injury? Guys, it's no problem. He's going to be 100% by the time we get to the year. Now, someone who's not going to be 100%, it's going to be Rashod Bateman. And this injury is significant. We dropped Rashod Bateman a considerable amount in our rankings where we go through and, I mean, you look at where he's ranked now. We currently have him at 115. We have him one spot ahead of Devontae Parker, with 2 spots ahead of Michael Thomas. We already did a Michael Thomas update with the stream yesterday. So if you want to see the Michael Thomas update, literally just go to the channel, find the picture that has Michael Thomas on the cover, click that. I'm not going to be covering Michael Thomas in this video just because we've discussed it at length already. And then you have Michael Pittman, Mike Gesicki, Melvin Gordon, Raheem Mostert, Trey Lance, Logan Thomas, all going ahead of Rashod Bateman. And the reason for this is, with these rookies, very rarely do you see them start the year injured and then be able to work themselves into the offense to the level that we thought coming into their rookie season. Now, there are some examples of these rookies going through missing training camp, missing the preseason, coming back in just say week 2, week 3, week 4, and then all of a sudden lighting the world on fire. I mean, everybody remembers Odell Beckham Jr. in 2014, where everybody was laughing at New York up until about, I believe it was week 3 when Odell got in the game. Maybe it was week 4, regardless. I mean, yes, you find those instances, but a lot of the times it's very similar to what you had with the Bryan Edwards last year. Well, hell, you go through, you suffer that injury to start the season, and you're never going to get on track, because a big thing is these rookies, a lot of them had that hard time transitioning over to the NFL. And with the Rashod Bateman, this is also someone that didn't play a full season in college last year due to COVID. Now, of course, I'm not sitting here and saying, oh, we got to worry about him because of that reason. I'm saying no. What we need to worry about a little bit here is Rashod Bateman not necessarily being up to speed with the overall offense and how he can be in football shape leading up until the game, because he has that groin injury. So what may end up happening with Rashod Bateman is, I'm afraid if you go through and you draft him, just say you draft him in round 10, 11, then all of a sudden he goes out, he misses the first 2 weeks of the season. Then it takes about 3 or 4 weeks for him to actually get implemented in the game plan. How long is it until you're actually starting Rashod Bateman? I mean, are you not going to be able to start Rashod Bateman until about week 8, week 9 of the season? And at that point, are you really want to be taking him in the 10th, 11th round? I think you have to drop him down, which we did. It kind of sucks. Rashod Bateman, definitely a very good prospect coming out of Minnesota. And I mean, the situation's bad. He's not going to really be able to get acclimated to the offense for quite a while. So I'm just going to be probably avoiding Rashod Bateman where we can. And now another update that we did in the video yesterday, but I want to just briefly touch on this one. It's going to be, it looks like Carson Wentz is actually trending to where he may play week 1, which is ridiculous to think about. I initially thought, as soon as we heard that injury, that Carson Wentz was out for the first 6 weeks of the season. I don't know if I was just being a pessimist and that we just had the Cam Akers injury. So I heard Carson Wentz and I was going, oh no, not again, not another injury. RIP Jonathan Taylor. But no, since we have Carson Wentz looking like he may be making it back to his week 1 appearance, and also it looks like Quentin Nelson's timetable maybe is speeding up at the same time, I actually really had to go through and take another look at where we were ranking Jonathan Taylor, and I officially moved him up to our running back 8. So I think you're back and willing to draft Jonathan Taylor in the late 1st, early 2nd round. We previously had him ranked at the 207 overall. And the reason for that is we were just looking at this team having some of the worst quarterback play in the NFL. On top of it, seeing a drastic downgrade on their offensive line without Quentin Nelson. But if both of those players should be back at the beginning of the season rather than the middle of the year, then I think Jonathan Taylor, someone who we previously had ranked as the 107 before any of this has happened, I can't get him back to the 107 because, very similar to what we said with the Rashod Bateman, those players going to a new team, I really want them to be able to go in, actually practice, and make sure that everything's going to be fine leading up until week 1. Where Carson Wentz, he's not going to get those reps in training camp. He's not going to get those reps in the preseason. And of course, that has to be a concern. I think you have to knock down slightly the overall expectation for the offense. So I'm not going to have Jonathan Taylor back where we previously did. But if you want to draft him at the end of round 1, I'm completely fine with that. So now with Amari Cooper, our next player, this is another guy rising up the rankings. We didn't move him up that much, but coming off the PUP, I think we have to at least consider him more so in the range of a Mike Evans. So we went out ahead and just moved him ahead of Patrick Mahomes. So if you pull up my rankings right here, we're going to have David Montgomery, Chris Carson, Mike Evans, Amari Cooper, then Mahomes. The previous set of rankings actually had Mahomes over Amari Cooper. So I think that switch is probably warranted, and that now you're looking at Amari Cooper as someone that should be 100% ready for week 1 this upcoming year. And I understand, guys. Yes, CeeDee Lamb is in town, and I am of the opinion that CeeDee Lamb's the wide receiver 1 to have with the Dallas Cowboys. But if Amari Cooper is going to be healthy to start week 1, I think you're going to see the ADP start to come a little bit closer between these two wide receivers, because if you've been coming out to those drafts with us every single night that we live stream, you see a lot of the times CeeDee Lamb maybe sometimes sneaking it into the late second round. A lot of the times he's going at just that 2-3 turn where he's either going at the 212, the 301, but he's right there. And Amari Cooper is literally one round behind him, where Amari Cooper is going at the 312, the 401 consistently. Now I think you actually have CeeDee Lamb possibly falling behind a Keenan Allen very regularly. Maybe you have CeeDee Lamb going closer to the 303, 304, and then you have Amari Cooper coming up closer to the 310, 309. I know that's not the biggest deal in the world, but it's definitely worth monitoring given the fact that a third round pick can make or break your fantasy draft. So we definitely need to bring that up and discuss it. And now something that I've honestly ignored DMs with, I've ignored people on Patreon just because it's kind of pissed me off. People being worried about Darren Waller. I think this maybe is one of the most insulting things ever. Guys, yes, if you don't know, Darren Waller has not been present at practice as of late. Darren Waller, a lot of people are pointing to it being a substance concern because he's had those concerns in the past a very long time ago. But you look at the situation that he has in Las Vegas right now. We have no reports whatsoever that indicate that it's going to be close to that. So all of a sudden, people are just randomly speculating. They're randomly putting that on Darren Waller. I'm going to consistently rank him as our 24th player overall. And I know a lot of people are going to be saying, but Mason, he's not injured. Why isn't he at practice? Have you looked at the fact that Darren Waller is a top 3 tight end in the NFL? And do you know how many guaranteed dollars he currently has on his contract? Darren Waller, currently on his contract. Keep in mind, Waller, someone that has not made a lot of money up until this point in the NFL. He's really just bursted onto the scene later on in his career as an elite level player. He has $6 million left on his contract. That is essentially nothing. Now, of course, guaranteed money with Darren Waller isn't that big of a deal, and instead you want to be looking at the overall number given the fact that it would be very hard for the Raiders to move on from Waller. But at the same time, this is clearly a contract dispute. He's 28 years old. He hasn't made that much money in his NFL career yet. And I know a lot of people are going to go, he hasn't made that much money. Look at, guys, I'm talking for an NFL player. Everything's with the context behind it. So Darren Waller, he's probably fighting to get more guaranteed money in that deal. And the best way to go through and get leverage in negotiations like that is not to show up to practice. So don't be just coming out here and speculating all this about Darren Waller. Whereas we have this happen every single offseason. Every single training camp, there are contract disputes. Sometimes it leads all the way up until the season. Sometimes it gets really messy with a player going public about it. Darren Waller doesn't go public about it. Instead, he's just handling business behind closed doors. I mean, I would hold the L if I'm wrong here, but I am confident enough to come out here and in a video say that I don't want to say 100% sure because, of course, it's not like I have any inside information, but I am confident enough where I'm not moving Darren Waller down our rankings whatsoever. I actually have moved him one spot up with the recent rankings update that we did. So he's going to be at the 24th overall pick. If you want to take him on a Christian McCaffrey team, I love going CMC and then getting Darren Waller in the second. Okay, so now sticking at the tight end position, let's go over to Hunter Henry. And with Hunter Henry, this is a tight end that is going to be missing multiple weeks over the next few. And keep in mind, Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith, Mac Jones, all new to this offense. So I would argue the reps that they are getting in right now, seeing exactly what the coaching staff wants to do in terms of their usage, as well as building that rapport with the quarterbacks there. I think that it's actually crucial. And I have already been on board saying that you want Jonnu Smith over Hunter Henry in fantasy drafts. A very simple explanation that I can give is A, Jonnu Smith is significantly more athletic. B, with Jonnu Smith, they paid him significantly more money. C, with Jonnu Smith, they signed him way earlier. He was clearly their priority tight end. Maybe the market wasn't as strong as they thought it was going to be with Hunter Henry, so they just viewed him as a kind of discount signing that they were able to bring in and possibly run some 2 tight end sets. So Jonnu Smith, I actually think we need to bump him up slightly. We moved him up into the 6th tight end tier. We have him currently as tight end 15, and we moved Hunter Henry down one spot where Hunter Henry was previously tight end 16. We moved him behind Gerald Everett because I think this is really important practice time. So yeah, you definitely want to be moving Hunter Henry down and you want to be moving Jonnu Smith up. And now let's go and let's talk about how some people want to just run with the narrative and it doesn't really mean much. And let's talk about DeAndre Swift. So this happens with everything in life. And I'm surprised people haven't really realized this with fantasy football yet. The headline here that you read with DeAndre Swift that everybody is pushing out there, DeAndre Swift missing significant practice time with a groin injury. Now, guys, you go and you read into the story. DeAndre Swift is at every practice. DeAndre Swift is practicing. He's missing reps. He hasn't been in a lot of full contact drills. Are we really that worried about it? They're taking it easy on a running back. That's what you want to be doing with your starting running back. So this is more so a maintenance thing than anything, at least how I'm reading it. Yet the headline saying DeAndre Swift missing significant practice time. So people are just assuming that this is a situation where DeAndre Swift hasn't practiced in 2 weeks. Now, I actually kind of fell for this in one of the live streams where some people were starting to spam out once the story dropped, DeAndre Swift, DeAndre Swift, DeAndre Swift. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm a pretty big fan of DeAndre Swift. You look at where we currently have him ranked. I currently have him ranked as our 29th player overall. That's at the 305. You can get him there in a ton of drafts. So I was a little worried. And then we go through, I do some research on the stream. And then of course I have the stream popped up. I have the chat popped up. I'm doing like $100 fantasy draft at the same time. And I'm trying to research DeAndre Swift. So I can't necessarily read into the entire story. And I just see the headline going, oh, God dang. But then as soon as we end the stream, we're able to go and actually do a little more research and find out that everybody's freaking out over nothing. So DeAndre Swift, do not be moving him down your rankings whatsoever. But a player that I had to move down my rankings, and this one's going to hurt because y'all know I have been considerably lower on a Terry McLaurin than consensus. A month ago, Terry McLaurin was getting drafted consistently over Allen Robinson, CeeDee Lamb, Robert Woods. And I came out and I said that was one of the worst draft picks at the wide receiver position. And a lot of people hated me for saying that. And I'll say that, hell, since we started saying that, I'm not saying we're the reason whatsoever. I think people a lot smarter than me have kind of figured that out as well. But I think with the Terry McLaurin, you see the price drop to the late third where now, he's actually at a reasonable range. And our next player, Curtis Samuel, is still dealing with his groin injury. So with the Curtis Samuel, he has not had any practice reps with this team. And he is going to, I know his old coach, yada, yada, yada. We don't need to focus in on that. He's going and playing at a new organization. He's going and playing with the new quarterback. Yes, they in theory know how they can possibly implement Curtis Samuel into their game plan based on the fact that they went out, they gave him a significant amount of money. And at the same time, this coach, Ron Rivera, has experience with Curtis Samuel from back in Carolina. But to go along with this, I think I possibly, just possibly, if this Curtis Samuel injury continues to linger, maybe have to reevaluate our stance on a Terry McLaurin. I may have to move him up over either Chris Godwin or Robert Woods in our rankings. I still think that it's not like we're going to be high on Terry McLaurin whatsoever, but I think if he's continuing to fall to the late third, where we were saying to avoid him in the late second, early third a month ago, but if he's in the late third and this Curtis Samuel injury is still lingering, maybe you actually get a little more excited about McLaurin. And we go and see where we actually just rank Curtis Samuel with this update. So we dropped him down to the 94th player overall, and he is directly ahead of Russell Gage, Hollywood Brown, Leonard Fournette, Jarvis Landry. And then if you're looking at the wide receiver rankings, we dropped him down to 46th overall, where he's directly behind a guy like a McCole Hardman, who of course we can get excited about. So yeah, with a Curtis Samuel, you have to be moving him down your rankings. And the hard question is, are we going to consider bumping up Terry McLaurin? I know a lot of people in the comment section probably want us to, but I'm a little hesitant. And now our last injury update. This is please hear me out. Please hear me out. We are going to be higher than consensus on Saquon Barkley. We are going to be probably one of the highest people in fantasy on Barkley, given the fact that now everybody and their mother is screaming how bad of a pick Saquon Barkley is in the first round. You've seen Barkley fall to the early second. You've seen Barkley fall to the late first in almost every single draft. I'm going to retain my stance that Saquon Barkley is the 5th player overall in fantasy right now. You want Christian McCaffrey, you want Dalvin Cook, Devontae Adams. Then, honestly, from there, Alvin Kamara kind of close because it looks like New Orleans is imploding. And then at 5, you have Saquon Barkley. And the thing with Barkley is, I understand, guys, the injury is a little scary, but he is already back at practice. We don't start the year for over a month from now. At least I hope not. If so, it's coming way too fast. But regardless, it's a very long time until we get to the season. And I know when the report came out that Barkley could miss until week 3, you have no idea how many DMs I got on Patreon. Everybody flipping out telling me, Mason, are we going to move Saquon Barkley down? He could miss until week 3. I'm saying, if you go in, you read the report, right after that, they say he can play week 1. So no, we're going to wait a week. We're going to see what's happening. And now it looks like he's possibly trending towards playing week 1. So we are most likely correct and not moving him down our rankings. And this is a running back that is literally, I want to argue, the best running back in the NFL besides Christian McCaffrey. And at the same time, what you love with the Saquon Barkley that directly correlates to fantasy production is the fact that he is going to be near the very top of the NFL in his targets per game at the running back position. To go along with this, we know he has the size where he's going to get every single touch in the red zone. So Saquon Barkley, we know he's going to get every valuable touch in his offense. We know he's one of the best running backs in the NFL. The only reason that I have him behind an Alvin Kamara, the only reason that I have him behind a Dalvin Cook is because New York is a horrendous offense, and we are scared about the offensive line. We're scared about Daniel Jones. We're scared about Jason Garrett, and I will admit that entirely. But what we're not scared about is Saquon Barkley and his talent and the usage in the offense. And now our last player that we are going to discuss is going to be DJ Chark, who had surgery with his finger, and it sounds like Chark isn't going to be back until the beginning of the year. And with the DJ Chark, this is a player that I was also higher on compared to consensus. And I don't need to come out and take an L or anything, but I do need to come out and lower DJ Chark in our rankings. We're lowering him under Laviska Shenault. And I know I've gotten that question a million times over the past month. Who do you prefer, Laviska or DJ Chark? And it's so funny because Laviska Shenault was being drafted like 4 rounds behind DJ Chark a month ago, and we were screaming that we were drafting Laviska in every draft. And when it flipped, I was going, okay, well, maybe we start to get DJ Chark a little bit. Now I think we're maybe back on Laviska Shenault. Now I think you have to have Laviska over DJ Chark because with Chark, while yes, he can be good for week 1, he's missing those reps with Urban Meyer, who we know definitely pigeonholes wide receivers into certain roles, and with his new quarterback in Trevor Lawrence. So that's not a good start to create a rapport. That's not a good start to go through and get the role that you want on the offense. So yes, we are going to be drafting Laviska Shenault over DJ Chark. He fell about 5 or 6 spots in our overall rankings. Now, thank you, my dudes. I really hope y'all enjoyed this video. And of course, go down there, drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. It helps us out a ton. And if there was anything that I missed in this video that you think is significant, or if you think I said anything stupid, tell me what I missed. Tell me how stupid I am in the comment section below. Subscribe to the channel. I hope to see you in the live stream tonight. And yeah, I better see you in the live stream tonight. We have had the craziest amount of support over on Patreon. Thank you, Colby, Ryan, Spencer, Seb, It's Easy, David, Justin, Christian, Tyler, and Robert. Thank you.